Well, let's get right into our very first conversation of the day. Yes, we're keeping our eyes on the Dangote versus Farouk Ahmed matter. But let's speak to an issue that also concerns a lot of Nigerians, road users. It also has ramifications when it comes to security or insecurity, as the case may be. It also has major legs in the law. And it's a case of a tinted glass permit. Some months ago, the police came out again. By the way, this has been on for years, right? But the police came out again and said, well, every Nigerian road user who has tinted glass must get a permit from the police. And then a portal was opened and people started queuing, the usual practice. But then there had been court cases about this. So, we had a legal practitioner approaching the court and saying, we need interpretation for this. And the court, the Federal High Court in Warri Delta State, gave a ruling regarding this. Now, this ruling is what is said to have made the police withdraw that order and say, well, we are suspending it. But guess what? Some months after, which is a few days ago, the police came out to say, well, we're back with this tinted glass permit enforcement. So people went to check the court. Has this order been vacated? Is something different? But hey, I'm not the lawyer. I was not involved in this case. I'm just a Nigerian like you and I. So we're joined on the program by Mr. John Ikpokpo-Martins, a legal practitioner who has been on the vanguard of this case, joins us virtually. Mr. Ikpokpo-Martins, good morning and thank you for joining us this early.
Good morning and thank you for bringing me on.
So let's start with the basics. What did the court say about the tinted glass permit? And is the police fully aware of this court order?
Yes, the court order was to maintain status quo, which simply means that the situation before coming to court should be maintained. And when that order was given by the Federal High Court Warri, it was served on the Inspector General of Police. And on the basis of that that service on the Inspector General of Police, and on by the intervention of the Nigerian Bar Association, the Inspector General of Police called for a meeting. And in that meeting, I was also present in that meeting, which was led by the President of the Nigerian Bar Association, Mr. Mazi Afam Osigwe, Mr. Akule Edu, who is my counsel in the matter, and some other NBA officers. And we went to the police headquarters in Abuja. And after mutual discussion, the police agreed to obey the law. Now, I want to make the point that the police did not say they will not implement the so-called tinted permit order simply because they were granting to Nigerians a discretion. No, it was the law that said that to keep the status quo, maintain the status quo, and which they were also represented by their counsel, Chief Oguleye, and they agreed to obey the law. So that was what happened that day. And furthermore, the police agreed. The police and during the discussion, it was agreed that the police and the Nigerian Bar Association should set up a contact team, which will further deliberate on the matter and maybe look at whether there's a good reason, there's a middle ground. But the police never came through to contact us again that they were ready for to engage our team, because the Nigerian Bar Association president had already set up a team awaiting the police, which police never did. Then from the blues, from nowhere, some 2 or 3 months down the line, the police are back to say they want to start implementing what they know that the court has ordered the maintenance of status quo.
So if the police were to go ahead to start implementing this, would it be deemed illegal, disobedience to court order?
Yes, naturally so. It will be extreme disobedience to the orders of court, and in this case, it will be totally unconscionable, having regard to the fact that one, the police is the chief, is the main organ, agency of the law that maintains law and order in Nigeria. So you can imagine the chief priest of a shrine designed to desecrate the shrine itself. That's what the police are trying to do in this instance. But they are the law and order agency that are meant to maintain law and order in Nigeria. Why? It's number one. Number two, they cannot feign their ignorance because they have been served, they have entered appearance, and we had a meeting together. and they gave a press interview to that extent by Mr. Udeni, their PRO. So they cannot feign ignorance as far as this matter is concerned. And any attempt, in fact, the mere fact that that statement was made is contempt of court. The mere fact that that statement was even issued by the PPRO of police is serious contempt of court and contempt of the people and disregard to law and order in Nigeria and the rule of law.
So, Mr. Martins, according to the police, they said this review follows emerging security threats and the need to enhance public safety, pending the final determination of the matter in the courts. How strong is this reason presented by the police, especially amid rising insecurity in the country?
The police lack the power to review a court order. That must be well noted. There is a substantive court order. It does not lie in the police, rightly or wrongly, to attempt to review an order of court. So that excuse is not tenable at all and is childish. If they, for whatever reason, they believe that that order should be reviewed, they know what to do. They go back to the court, bring applications, we argue it, that if the court deems it fit to say, okay, at this stage, I don't think we have to maintain the status quo, then the court will review. It is not for them to review, no matter the reason, because that's why they are not a court unto themselves. That's number one. Number two, assuming that indeed there is a upsurge in crime arising from, where is the statistic that it is arising from the use of tinted glasses? That is number one. Number two is that in the police, if the police are on the road, usually they are on the road, they drive a tinted car, they always tell you to wind down. And for reasonable Nigerians like me, before I get there, I even wind down my glasses. But if assuming a driver refuses to, a driver who did not wind down on his glasses on his own, the police have every right to say, wind down, calm down, let me check your boots and see if you are carrying arms or carrying illegal materials. So it has nothing, absolutely nothing to do with policing, because the police have the right at any given time to stop a car and to check the car. And that was what this IGP said when he came in. That was what we operating there. From all of a sudden, he started talking about licensing for tinted glass. Even if you have to license the tinted glasses, do you have to renew it every year? What has renewal got to do with policing? Well, it's just about the millions. I've just sat down to do the calculation that if every car is using 50,000 naira to renew his tinted glass, I will have about, let's just say, about roughly 50,000 cars in Nigeria annually. That has, because almost all imported any car, any SUV in Nigeria is tinted. Now, do the calculation. The 2 billions. Who controls those billions? What happens to the billions? And the police keep shouting for money. Every day their cars are dilapidated in the police station. You still buy your things. What happens to that money? That is number one, or another part of it. Then another leg of it is this. The police are trying to turn the service to a revenue generating agency. But the law is strict on agencies that generate revenue. You have to pay this money into a TSA account. Now, the police are outside the TSA. The account they gave and everything they are doing has nothing to do with the TSA of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So they are collecting this money outside the system, and these monies are not appropriated for, because we know that before any kobo of the federal government or of the government is spent, it must be appropriated by the National Assembly. In this case, police being the federal agency, it must be appropriated by the National Assembly. So who appropriates the money? What happens to the money?
So let me come in here for a moment.
Those are the questions.
So let me come in here for a moment. As a matter of fact, the police has a lot more questions to answer. I know that we had a guest here, a member of the House of Representatives, when we talked about the withdrawal of VIPs or police escort from VIPs. He talked about the amount he pays, and he clearly stated that, saying that he doesn't believe that money goes to the coffers of the government. That he doesn't have a problem paying that money, but he wants to be sure that money goes to the coffers of government. He believes that money ends up in private pockets. And my colleague Kayode did an analytics of just members of the assembly. If all of them have 2 to 4 policemen following them or escorting them wherever they go to, how much that will amount to, and whether the police can really account for it. So the issue of transparency within the police force is something we'll keep asking and we'll keep questioning. But I want to read their statement that was released. I think this is Benjamin Hundeyin
that released this statement on their Twitter handle. It said, and I want to read here just a short statement, 2 paragraphs, so you respond to what he said. At the same time, it is important to clarify that the existence of pending litigation does not, in itself, extinguish the lawful responsibilities of the police, except where a court has expressly and finally directed otherwise. As of today, there is no final judicial pronouncement declaring the motor vehicle tinted glass permit policy unlawful, or is there any subsisting order permanently restraining the police, that's the Nigerian police force, from performing its statutory duties in relation to the regulation of tinted vehicle glasses. Is that true?
It is not true. With due respect to Mr. Hussein, that talk is speaking out of ignorance. And I don't want to believe that his lawyers have not been able to explain to him what maintaining the status quo is. I don't want to believe that. That is tantamount to an injunction in law. Now, when you say there are lawful duties, it can no longer be lawful because the court has put a stay to the operation of that particular scheme. So as far as the law has, the Federal High Court has put a stay to it, anything done has become unlawful. So when you say that nobody can stop them from their lawful duties with respect to the tinted glasses, is extremely very wrong. There's a law, there is an order of the Federal High Court, and all they need to do is to file because at that same time we file our interlocutory application. What they need to do is to file their counter affidavit and allow the law to take its course. And if my lord finds that they have a better case on why the scheme should continue, I'm allowed to revoke the order given and they can possibly continue. So it is not true, and it's speaking out of ignorance to say that until there is a final judgment or final order. No, why do we have interim orders? Do you understand what you mean by interim orders or interlocutory orders? What has just happened is what we call an interim order. So it doesn't have to be final before it becomes operative or before you start obeying same. So it's speaking out of ignorance with due respect, and it's not right. I should not be misleading Nigerians or be deceived by maybe from his lawyers. I don't think his lawyer. I don't want to believe that they are deceiving him. I just want to believe that he refused, or the police have refused to listen to good counsel.
It's in this country that we've seen it said, incidentally, by a former attorney general who's now involved in some investigation, that national security will trample your personal rights every day of the year. In that sense, I'm paraphrasing. So we've seen that in the way security operatives and, in fact, the security architecture sometimes carry out their operations. If it's national security or security issue, they say, well, forget whatever the court said. This is an emergency. We need to sort it out. So maybe we step back a bit and understand the rationale behind the court case in itself. What was considered before the order was given? Why is this an important conversation, really, to have? So I'd like you to let us know what you presented before the court. Why did you think that it is illegal to have this done? And what did the court consider before giving that order?
One, I want to address this issue that security issues trump the law. That is not true and can never be true, because the law itself is founded on law. The Nigerian police was not founded on its own, was founded by provisions of the Nigerian Constitution, and the limits of their powers and duties are well spelled out either in the Constitution or by the subsequent Nigerian Police Act. So it is totally not true that security trumps the law. The law trumps security at any given time, because security on itself is founded on law. Anything done in the name of a security body that is not founded on law is impunity and is a call for unrest. So that idea, first of all, should be banished. We shouldn't think about that at all in the first instance. Secondly, what did what did the court consider? What did I put before the court? We put before the court the Nigerian Police Act. We put before the court the Nigerian Constitution, and we put before the court the tinted permit regulation. And ask the court to look at all through all these laws, what gives the Nigerian police the power to grant permit and renewal of that permit every year. None. There's no renewal. clause or numeral provision in that that is annual renewal in the law. 1. 2. There is nothing in the Constitution or the Nigerian Police Act that gives police the power to collect money. 2. 3. There is nowhere in the law, the three around the Constitution, the Police Act, that gives police the power to spend money without appropriation. Nothing in the Constitution that gives the police the power to spend money and or to operate a non-TSA account. Those are the very pertinent questions. Now, at the worst, if the police grants, if the police has power to grant permit, and that power to grant permit does not include power to renew every year, that has nothing, absolutely nothing to do with security. That has everything to do with revenue generation. Now, when people call it revenue generation, it cannot be revenue generation if this money is even paying to the TSA account and is being appropriated for by the National Assembly. As far as that money is not being paid to a federal government account and or the money is not appropriated for by the National Assembly, it is a bribery generative scheme. That's exactly what this Tinted permit annual renewal is, a bribery generative scheme. And for every IGP that is not challenged on this issue is allowed to stay in office and operate this scheme. Only God knows the trillions of naira that will be available to him and maybe to other persons who are interested in this business. I have every reason to believe that this business has nothing to do with only the IGP. There are also other high officers in several places that are interested in this scheme, that they have sat down and have laid out a scheme on how to colonize the money that will be coming from it. But for the vigilance of some of us who think about that, no, there's something wrong with this thing. I want to challenge you to the last point. Even if the court agrees, which I don't even agree that they have power, but this is a democratic society, that power to grant a permit, I am 100% sure that it will not include the power to renew the permit annually. That will not include that. That will also not include the power to collect the money outside the TSA, and will also include the money to spend the power to spend the money without appropriation by the National Assembly, and without giving an account of the same to the Accountant General of Nigeria every year. So is everything wrong about this, and we shouldn't allow it.
And I imagine that the court will consider all of the evidence in this matter before it, in arriving at its decision, especially with concerns, from the NBA that these funds being collected from the tinted glass permit are being remitted into a private account, and with questions as to what that particular company has to do with the police force. And so the police has a lot of questions to answer in that regard. But there are also implications to this. For the average commuter, motorist, renewing tinted glass permit annually can be laborious. So amid this, especially with the decision of the Nigerian police force to go ahead and carry out implementation of the permit pending the determination of the case before the court, how should motorists be responding to this amid all of this conversation, knowing that the NBA is kicking against this and fighting this, and that the case is currently before the court? So if an average motorist were stopped by a police officer now asking for their tinted glass permit, the latest renewed document, how should they respond?
The response is very easy. The problem in Nigeria is that Nigerians are always very much afraid of being arrested and things like that. First question you ask yourself, what does the law provide? When my friends call me, I have been arrested, I said, tell the police to take you to court. Tell him to charge you to court. And there's no judge in this country who will go on with the trial when he knows of the order granted by the Federal High Court worry that this scheme will be staged or status quo be maintained. There is no court that will try that so-called offender because it's not an offender. So if we are arrested, what you simply do, allow yourself to be charged to court. And by the law, it's only the Federal High Court that has power to handle the such matters. So you let them charge you to court. Let them charge you to court. Why are you afraid? You go to court and let the police who is supposed to prosecute, who is supposed to prove the case against you, prove that there is a law that has not been stated for you not to have tinted glass without permit. That is the issue. If I have a tinted glass, let the police arrest me. I'll simply tell them to please arrest me, take me to court. I want to be persecuted. Then I will bust their bubble in court.
Interesting. Mr. Akpokpo Martins, I know a lot of Nigerians will be asking you, who will pay for representation? Because naturally you have to be represented in court.
If you listen to the Nigerian Bar Association the last time, and again this time, the president of the Nigerian Bar Association has activated the human rights committees of all the Nigerian branches of all Nigerian Bar Association around the country.
Brilliant.
That when you are arrested, simply call the human rights committee of your branch.
Brilliant.
Or of the FDA governor. I will render pro bono services. Simple.
And that is
we need to confront this impunity in Nigeria for us to have peace.
And that is a fantastic place to land, Mr. Akpokpo Martin. So to all Nigerians out there, motorists, well, your right is right there in your hand. So if you're challenged, Mr. Akpokpo Martin says, tell the police to take you to court. The NBA, you should also get in touch, and there's pro bono services available for you. We have to thank you so much, Mr. John Akpokpo Martins, legal practitioner, who's been at the vanguard of this tinted glass permit controversy. Thank you for your time, and we wish you the very best.
Thank you. I'm grateful.